Smylie, day 2 of our Ryder Cup journal, and what a flourish to end the day. I mean, I woke up at 1:30 a.m. this morning, and we were about 2 or 3 hours in, and my thoughts were kind of in line. I'll paraphrase a Homer Simpson quote here, where we wrapped yesterday thinking, that was the worst day in Team USA Ryder Cup history, to which the universe replied, that was the worst day in Team USA Ryder Cup history so far. Because you were out there on the course, you were with the Brooks Koepka, Scottie Scheffler group that lost 9-7 to Viktor Hovland and Ludvig Aberg. I'm not going to say his last name correctly, as a man who we've been saying
Aberg for so long.
Well, listen, as someone who recently changed the pronunciation of my last name,
we don't last name judge.
We don't last name judge around here. But I mean, and obviously we're gonna kind of work through the day and get to where it finished, where the U.S. now has a fighting chance. But I just want to hear, what was going through your mind watching. I mean, Scottie and Brooks lost 9 of the 11 holes they played. What was it like following that group, witnessing that?
Well, it definitely felt that way because honestly, they could have won all 11 because it was, man, just Scottie and Brooks. They were 5 over through 3. They doubled 1, they doubled 3, and bogey 2. They right from the get go. Just I don't know if it was. There were rumors about guys being sick on the team.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering in my head, like, they just look lethargic. They played so well yesterday afternoon and they birdied 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So you think they're showing up and playing Viktor Hovland and Ludvig Aberg thinking, you know what? I can pretty much chalk that up as a Scottie and Brooks if they're going to get some type of point, whether it's a half point or a point. And it was utterly, it was just domination. It was just absolute domination. I don't think anybody would have beaten Viktor and Ludvig this morning. They played unbelievable. And if you've never played alternate shot, you'll never know how hard it is because you can't get in a rhythm. And it's just so odd. You just put in a position that you've never, you can always kind of work your way through a round, but sometimes you don't putt for a couple holes. You don't hit an iron shot for a couple holes. You don't hit a driver for a couple holes. So there's just that mental fatigue of trying to figure out, where exactly you are in the day. Every shot, especially in the first 6 holes, feels like the first time you've done that shot in a while. So, which gets to my point about those 2 this morning.
Yeah.
They did not miss a fairway and they only missed 1 green. And I had them on my count at 4 under through 11 holes. And that's not with the 2 conceded birdies that were given to them. So could have been 6 under if they would have putted those 8 to 10 footers out that they could have made. So they very well could have been 6 under through 11 holes, which that's beating pretty much everybody out there in that format. So give them credit first. Nobody was beating him that day. Just unfortunately, I think it just was, not to get the best out of Scottie Scheffler and Brooks Koepka, who, if you look at this entire American team, all 12 of them, you would single out, if you had to have a draft of who you're taking in a major championship blind, doesn't matter the major, you're taking Brooks Koepka, you're picking him probably first or second, and then you're probably taking Scottie Scheffler. So for those 2 to go out in that format and be done on the 11th green was absolutely shocking.
Yeah, I think I just wonder, and you were out there, so maybe you know more about the dynamics of it, but I wonder what it was like for Rory and Tommy Fleetwood to be wherever they were in their match early and to see, Vic and Ludvig coming up to their match like, wait, what happened?
I'm sure
back there?
Everybody was just like, what is going on? Is this a misprint on the board? Because, man, it was they played unbelievable, and they got beat in the afternoon, but I'm sure we'll get to that.
Well, and again, we are going to kind of end this with, it really ends on a positive note for Team USA. I know it's still 10.5 to 5.5. It's going to require a Herculean effort tomorrow to get this thing done.
Well, walk me through what happened in the last. So where I got in the shuttle to come back to the hotel, we didn't get a chance to watch any of it. Was I saw Rory hit it on the green on 16, and then didn't see anything after that.
So then we get to 17, the par 3. Rory misses left.
Which is a tough up and down.
Tough up and down. And Patty hits the green. I don't know why I called him Patty. I'm getting very overly familiar with the people in this, but Cantlay hits the green.
My boy P-Dog hits the green.
Patty Ice. Well, I think I feel familiar because what he did to close out the day. I mean, a lot of group texts where Patty Ice is being thrown out there. But so he hits the green. I think he probably had like an 8-footer for birdie, right? So, and I'm just going to skip what Fitzpatrick and Clark did because they're irrelevant. Rory hit one of the sauciest little chips that just kind of landed left the hole and zipped back to where it was like a this far for par. And they cut away to the Team Europe guys watching on the side
winning?
of the hill.
Like, so they're 2 up.
They are at this point they are. Europe is 1 up here because Rory made a birdie and Cantlay made a birdie on 16, so the match stayed 1 up Europe.
Oh, I thought they were 2 up going into 17.
No, they were yeah, that's right. They were 1 up going into 17.
Okay,
so Rory hits this saucy little chip, and they cut away to all the European guys on the hill. Hovland, Straka, just like, are you serious? Boy. What was that? Cantlay makes his putt. So birdies it. So now they're all square going into 18. So then Rory hits a drive.
How long was
Cantlay's probably like an 8-footer.
Okay.
And they were
some like crazy long putt. Okay.
And they were giving it. They were giving it to Cantlay about the hats all day long. They actually, I think Steve Sands asked him about it on the 18th green. Did you catch one of this report on the broadcast? I think Zinger mentioned it. Yeah. So his answer was great. He's like, it just doesn't fit. The hat didn't fit. It didn't fit at Whistling Straits. Didn't fit this week. So I don't know.
Yeah, Zinger called it clickbait on. It was just too many conflicting reports, and honestly, with Patrick Cantlay, all we've gotten from him is conflicting reports, and everything with him in the world of golf. It's been on the polar opposites of every end of the spectrum with him. It was he's going to live. He's now upset with the PGA Tour, and he wants out. He's trying to fire people on the board, this and that. And then I hear the opposite. Then I hear he's saving the tour. He's helping guys to try to get, and this is a totally different conversation for another day, but it's to the point of this week where the Ryder Cup and Zach Johnson gets on an interview with our guys, and he says, this has been one of the best team rooms I've ever been a part of. So then in your head, you're like, hold on, is he lying? Because we heard a report that Patrick Cantlay is, dividing the team room. He thinks the Ryder Cup should be played, or the guys should be paid, which I don't disagree with. I think the Ryder Cup is one of the best ripoffs in sports because the amount of money it generates and the amount of little money that the players make. I mean, he's got a point, but it is for the love of the game. And if anybody can look at something where people are making money off of them, you can be like, you know what? I definitely see a world in which the player should get paid in this, but that's a debate for another day. But that's kind of the conversation we're talking about with Cantlay and this hat thing, where it's like, we just never know what's true and what's not true with Patrick, I guess. 100%
agree. And just to pause quickly, just to kind of get people up to speed, you kind of outlined it there, but I think it's worth, I don't need to quote the report because, it's been, the sourcing is kind of vague on this sort of thing, but effectively the main pieces of that report were that Cantlay feels that the guys in the Ryder Cup team should be paid more money, that Cantlay did not participate in the gala, where the sort of the dinner is the team had.
Yep. Forgot that one.
That he and Xander are in a separate area of the locker room, their own sort of, cordoned off area. I have a hard time
believing that too.
I have a hard time and that it's all stems from feeling like because
and
guys,
the Netflix thing too, that
he and Cantlay, or he and Scheffler were this driving force behind not having the cameras in the room because they feel like we're not getting value out of this. And I think, listen, I mean, as someone who's worked in media, like I completely understand the agreement or, just the argument that, hey, don't try to pay me an exposure here. Like pay me real money for the work I'm doing and the value I'm generating.
I think the reason why the cameras aren't in that room is just all of these guys are generally friends out here. And this is a week where you try to find motivation in any way possible to get the guys riled up. And whether that's talking shit about a player or if there's somebody that really bothering you this week, that you just want to air out your dirty laundry. You don't want the world hearing that because now that creates a conflict with you and a work colleague week in and week out who you had generally a very good relationship with. So I do understand it from that perspective.
I have no problem. I have no problem with if that's Cantlay's line of thought. I have no problem with that. If the cameras thing, I have no problem with that. I just think, and I'm curious your thoughts on this too, that if and look, he went out and he won his match with a huge birdie putt on 18. So it's kind of tough to critique.
So we didn't get that.
We didn't even get that far.
you just ruined the movie.
Well, yeah. To fast forward you through that as well. I mean, effectively, he hits a drive. I think in the rough, kind of right rough on 18. He hits a 3-wood that lands short right of the green and trickles into the rough, not into the bunker, but right on the edge of the rough.
Where's the pin? I didn't even get to 18 today.
The pin was...
Is it front right?
It was like front right.
Okay.
It was just...
Right.
And so Wyndham, again, unfortunately, Wyndham's sitting in the fairway, hit a 350-yard drive, hits it right into that collection area down again, and then leaves a chip short on the fringe.
Oh, man.
And so Fitz hit it... I don't even
What did Wyndham look like in that whole deal? Did he look comfortable? Did he look... like the moment was too much. It's a tough shot. Don't get me wrong. There's water left. It's an uneven lie. Very easy to hit it out to the right. Did it look like he was quick? When he hit the shot? When he hit the shot, he immediately put his head down and pulled his hat down over his head. You could tell he was feeling the moment a little bit. And I think that had something to do with the next shot he hit as well that he left short. You could kind of hear him mouthing, "Oh, it was just a bad lie," which I'm sure is something you need to tell yourself to keep yourself in it mentally. But he did look like the moment might have got to him a little bit. And I think that, it's tough to kind of have the scar tissue of having that same lie and that same shot 2 days in a row and to do that same thing twice. And hopefully the fact that they ended up not giving away a half point this time and winning one through Cantlay's putt, helps turn it for him. So what happened with Cantlay? You again skip to the end. How long was the putt?
Rory was long left, then he hits it down to the right, and then he has kind of a tough bunker shot that he kind of it's almost like it's a short sided bunker shot that he has to almost land in the rough to take some heat off of it. Instead, it lands a little bit further, kicks, and he's probably got like a 20-footer for birdie, right? So Cantlay has this little kind of weird chip, and you don't know what the rough's going to do to it. He hits it, and he gets like all of it. And this thing goes like, 15, 18, 20 feet past. So
that green slopes. It kind of slopes towards the back left corner of that green. So I assume that's what happened. Ran away from him.
So he's further out than Rory is now.
But where did you think Patrick was going to chip it? Like, did you feel like it was one that you can easily get close, or like was 20 feet? You're like, that wasn't like terrible.
I think, and you're out there looking at these lies. I mean, you hit in some of these lies in the rough. It's just a total crapshoot. I mean, I've seen
it was in the rough. I thought you said it was. Oh, okay. I thought it was like first cut fairway or something.
It got caught right, like I don't want to say it was overhanging the lip, but it got caught in that little chunk of rough that was in between the first cut and the edge of the bunker, and it was kind of that ball disappeared. So it was he had a wonky liar, yeah.
And then he makes a putt, and then
he makes a putt. And there's a bit of controversy there too. Everyone's going nuts. Joe LaCava's throwing his hat in the air, and he's kind of backing into Rory's line. Shane Lowry comes out and starts yelling at him to get off the green. Apparently, again, this is all quick interviews after the round's
drama.
Done. Big time drama. And LaCava was there. Was a lot of heated discussions going on. So then Rory misses, so they win the full point there. All right, Smylie, it wouldn't be a Ryder Cup unless we had some day 2 drama. We thought there was going to be no juice after a crazy day 1, but for those of you watching on YouTube, you're wearing a different outfit than the rest of this episode because you had to come back post-shower to discuss something that we both saw on the Peacock recap.
Has to be covered.
I have no clue where I'm going to edit this into the podcast, but at one point I said...
randomly... Just me in a dress shirt is where just in the middle, just like bang.
It's just gonna. Oh, hey, outfit change. But the reason we're doing this, of course, is because we mentioned the whole kerfluffle on the 18th green where Patrick Cantlay makes a bomb for birdie that if Rory has another putt that could have the hole, but if he misses it, of course, the U.S. wins a crucial point. And Joe LaCava, Patrick Cantlay's caddy, was celebrating, and I told you that Shane Lowry took some exception to that. Well, it turns out Rory took a little bit of an exception to that too, because we both saw, as soon as we finished our first record, video of Rory attempting to get into his courtesy car and Bones came over, Justin Thomas's caddy, and was obviously a very nice, agreeable human being, attempting to, I don't know, have a conversation with him, explain. And Rory is heated up, and this comes from Rex Hoggard of the Golf Channel. He's pointing in Bones' direction. He says, that can't happen. It's a disgrace. And then he also said a lot of other things that I'm not going to say on this. That
it looks like he was looking past Bones, though.
Yes. And that's what, if you can, I think that I am pretty sure that Joe LaCava is standing in that collection.
I think so too. I think it's
of Team USA players as well.
This is all about what happened on 18 green with Joe LaCava. I don't think Rory felt like he was able to have that moment for it to just be about that putt. And I think the Joe LaCava thing with Shane Lowry, I think that interrupted. Did you see the Joe LaCava thing happen before Rory putted?
Yes.
It so definitely that changes things. And I can understand why Rory would be upset. But at the same time, from what I understand, the entire day, the fans were obviously treating Patrick Cantlay like crap. So what's taken into account?
Yeah.
Let's say the Ryder Cup thing with the hat is a total fluke. It's made up. It's clickbait.
Sure.
Then you could totally understand from the U.S. side that why are they saying this about Patrick if it's fake? Okay, I mean you can go back and forth on this, but still, the fact that I heard that there were not only players, but they were encouraging the hat thing throughout the day. Like this was something that I don't know if it was the players, but it kept happening every single hole. So you have to wonder, where did it start? Was it the players? Was it not the players? But still, juicy. Drama.
It's juicy, and we saw Shane Lowry come in. He was the guy who was yelling at Joe LaCava on the 18th green, and he's also the guy who's coming over to Bones, trying to separate Rory from Bones, get Rory in the courtesy car. He walks away, and he's
sticking up for his guy.
That's
what he's doing. He's sticking up for his guy.
But we saw Lowry yesterday go nuts for Viktor Hovland's made putt on the 18th to 1.5 point. I mean, my feeling on all this is it's the Ryder Cup. I love all of this.
So
we need it. It's so juicy. We need it on both sides. I think it's if the European guys want to encourage the fans who are yelling at Cantlay over the hat, great. But don't get upset if Joe LaCava is going to go nuts on the 18th green to see his guy who's been hearing it all day long. You get a little fired up for a birdie that won him a full point. And I guess, look, I understand from Roy's perspective, I'm trying to make a putt to salvage a half point, and you're interfering with my process. But guess what? At the Ryder Cup, sometimes your process gets interfered with. That's just how it goes.
Yeah, but on 18 green, I can see if it was a player, I think it's not as big of an issue because they can take that in one-on-one. But when a caddy does it, who's standing up for his player at not the right time, I can understand why a player would feel upset about that. But I do understand both sides of it. So, which makes it a great quarrel and a great thing to cover.
So much so that we pulled you out of your shower. You're on your way to an event. You're wearing a button down. You look fantastic.
Man. I mean, the other videos that you're going to see with what I was wearing, I feel like it was like a scratch and sniff. You could just basically you can just smell what I looked like walking 36 holes that day. So I smell fresh, feel like the shampoo smells good and the body wash is great. So had to cover it. It's going to be, I can't wait. I might get there a little earlier tomorrow just to see what's going on. Oh, wait. So in this case, do we want to see Rory against Patrick Cantlay tomorrow? Or do we want to see Shane Lowry against Patrick Cantlay tomorrow? And we have to have one of either of the two, or this is a disgrace by the PGA of America not to change whatever's on the list that come out and make sure that Rory plays one of those two guys.
Well, the players involved are Joe LaCava and then obviously Patrick Cantlay. And now you have Bones involved.
I think he was a middle guy.
And Lowry, of course. But here also, I'd love to see Wyndham and Rory. After what Wyndham said to start, I'd love to see John Rahm Brooks Koepka after what Brooks said about John Rahm. Did you see that Rahm got asked about that today as well?
And then also I'd love to see Patrick Cantlay versus Brooks Koepka as well. I think those two guys should go play because of Brooks Koepka's things he said about Patrick Cantlay's slow play. Can we just have an American on American duel? Maybe has a little appetite before this thing gets going. I mean, there's so many endless possibilities with tomorrow, and people forget it's not even close. It's like this thing is not even close.
I think the headline is, this is so good. This is just what we needed. We needed literally the second to last putt of the day. And I guess by extension, the last putt of the day, because Rory got all upset about his, is that we needed some juice heading into the final day, and we got it. And man, I'm fired up for Sunday at the Ryder Cup.
And you saw my tweet, right?
Dude, I was going to say, while you're in the shower, I have at least 4 of my friends text me and said, hey, your boy, good tweet. Good tweet. So the reviews are rolling in.
I mean, and it just felt like, I was like, there's a joke in here somewhere watching this. And I was like, what would makes me angry right now? The Delta Medallion program that just got enacted by Delta. So what a time to bring that up and have everybody to have a laugh about that.
You've now hit the Delta turkey. This is the 3rd time the Delta Medallion program has been mentioned on this podcast.
And if Delta's trying to come on as a sponsor, I'm still going to be a Delta guy. This is just, I'm still a Delta guy.
We're here to mediate.
We still support.
We're here to mediate in the same way that we like the Bones Rory interaction. Delta, come on the pod. Let's talk about the Medallion program. All right.
No. We want them to be a sponsor. Like, we want your money. Perfect. Give us your money. All right. I gotta go. Like, this has been too much for me today. I'll see you tomorrow.
Just to kind of take it back to where we started with Cantlay. It's like, if you're going to have, and who knows how true these reports are, but if you're going to do the separate part of the locker room thing and you're going to, if this is going to become an issue in the locker room, it's sad to me because it's like, hey, if you really are so upset with this that you want to protest this, then just don't play and let someone else take your spot.
Yeah. I mean, we can't speculate on this.
We can't speculate. We can't. Yeah. And if none of this is true, and if it's not affecting his play and he's going out and winning points, then does it really matter? And is it worth bringing up? And I think, honestly, he was smiling at everyone, waving their hats around. He had a wry little smile for everyone that was giving it to him. I think he kind of fed off of it. I mean, I just don't know how you feel about.
Yeah, I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
I'm sure he did. And we kind of had to show it. It got to a point where every single hole, all the fans had their hats out. So we addressed it. I mean, Zinger kind of talked about how he thought it was clickbait, didn't believe it. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, I don't know if I believe it or don't believe it, but I can understand the perspective of just everything with Patrick. We always heard the rumor about him going to Live Golf Tour. We heard about him having issues with the tour. And so definitely interesting. I don't know what's true and it's not true, but I definitely think the other thing. So in the afternoon, we're going to get to that. I was with Jordan and JT, and
we got to ask you about 16T. We have to talk about it. And by the way, just because I know you were on the shuttle back, they asked Zach Johnson about it on the 18th green.
Oh, what did he say?
He said, I'll never tell a guy what club to hit. I'm just giving Jordan information. And I'm wondering if even that intervention in that high leverage moment
did he come
still
up,
felt too much.
Did Jordan ask him for information?
That's what I'm saying is I
didn't see. I just saw Zach come up and I saw all 3 of them calling or talking to each other. And that's when I'd let our producer know that Zach was on the tee talking to Jordan. So
you'd have to assume that he went up, right? You have to assume Jordan wouldn't call him over. I think, given what Zach said, I think Zach went up to give him some piece of information.
Okay, let's assume. We don't have to assume either. The fact is, here's what happened. So it's about 288 yards to the pin today adjusted. The wind was in off the right about 10 miles an hour. That creek that runs up to the right side of the green. The only person in the field that could hit 3-wood on the green today was Rory, and he did it. And
unbelievable.
And
shot.
you had to take a super aggressive line, almost started in the water or right of the water, and kind of ride the wind a little bit. But from what I saw with Rory, he hit just a straight ball, which is insane. That's just stupid. But
it's super fast.
he's superhuman. Everybody else, that's what you would have had to do. And so here's the way I looked at it and the way I called it. So we saw Robert McIntyre hit it on the green. They're 3 down in the match. And when you see somebody drive it onto a green, whether they're going to have a tough putt or chip, regardless, in your head, you're thinking, I need to be thinking 2. And
yes.
So where I kind of get lost in this, and JT hit a very nice drive, just got over the green to the left. And I think that's when maybe the question started coming up of JT knew that he was in a bad position. Any player can look at their yardage book and see that hole location and know where JT ended up was going to be a very difficult pitch. Even though he was just a yard into the rough, they were like, you know what, that's not a great spot. But still, I think Jordan, if he pulls driver and hits that cut up against the wind, which is honestly, you can tee it down just a little bit and hit a normal one and fade it and just go right at the pin and try to finish it at the pin or right of it to where, you know, if it goes over the green, it's an somewhat easy pitch. It's just a very hard shot to pull off. But in that scenario, knowing that Robert McIntyre is on the green and Justin Rose is in the bunker, you have to expect that they're going to make a 3. What does laying back short in between the bunkers with a 3 wood give you? Like, does it give you a really good shot to chip in? Debatable. I mean, I would say if you gave Jordan in between those bunkers 10 balls, he may hole one of them. But if he pulls off the perfect driver and hits it to 10 feet, if I give him 10 balls from 10 feet, he's probably making, 6, 7, 8 of them if he's got the right putt at it. But that was the way I looked at it. That was my perspective. I thought the right play was a cut driver up against it and playing the aggressive play. And, it just, he actually, where his eyes were looking with the 3-wood was with that. So I think a lot of people question that 3-wood was never getting there. Like, why did Zach tell him to change to a 3-wood to try to hit it on the green? I watched where Jordan was set up. I was right behind him.
Yeah.
He was aimed in the middle of that fairway to the left. Like, his eyes were not looking at the pin. So for those that are like, well, 3-wood wasn't the club, why is Zach trying to change his club? It was a strategy decision to try to have the easiest pitch shot. But then we kind of just explained that. So definitely crazy. I think Zach Johnson will be remembered in this, and this is kind of where to finish up on this. Zach Johnson, if they eventually lose, which is kind of looks like it's going that direction, it's felt that way the whole time, he'll be questioned on his team that he brought. He'll be questioned on his lineups he put out. He'll be questioned on just kind of how he handled the interviews and just people. I think just people have been just annoyed with just the lack of fight from the team, the lack of, I wouldn't say it's tough because the spirit, it's tough when you get nothing going out there, but it just the helping with the golf clubs on certain shots. And I talked to a European player, somebody from the other team, and he mentioned that Zach had been helping with clubs on other holes as well, which I don't know how much Luke Donald was doing that. And the captains are the only people that can give advice to the players. So only the captains, not the vice captains. The vice captain can't come up in that situation. So very interesting. Definitely, Jim, we still talk about Jim Furyk's Ryder Cup is in the fact that it just, it's going to be remembered for him. It's going to carry that legacy of him being the captain and not getting the job done and questioning decisions. And I think the same goes for potentially Zach Johnson with the team he brought, not bringing certain guys, bringing what people quote unquote call the boys club, which I'm like, we've talked about this. Like I've been saying how difficult of a decision it was going to be for Zach Johnson. Everybody's going to think, oh, I wanted JT, Jordan, Ricky on the team. No, we've been talking about how there of those 6 picks, I could have given you 10 more, and I could have made an argument for 10 more guys. Could Bryson have been on the team? Keegan, Luke Scott? Yeah, absolutely. But I understand all of the 6 picks. It doesn't mean they were the right picks, but I understand why they were picked and in this situation. And if they lose and potentially looks like that's going to happen, I mean, he's going to have to answer for those picks. And it's not the picks that lost in this Ryder Cup. And right. If they do lose, it's John Rahm, Viktor Hovland, and Rory McIlroy playing at an elite level. And if you have those 3 guys playing at an elite level, what it does for the other guys, it gives, first off, they've split all 3 of them up every single session. So like they're not playing ever with each other. If those 3 guys are playing good, you got another guy you're dragging with you the whole way. That's a veteran player that he can help, or those players can help while they're out there. So it's, to me, man, like that's been the biggest thing is obviously the U.S. not being informed, but really the top of the European guys just playing really well.
I mean, it's the Europe kind of has that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts thing going for them most years. But this year they also have a ton of talent in the back half of the roster that's really rounded into form. I'll say this to kind of leave it on a positive spot for Team USA. That team, when Cantlay made that putt, looked fired up on the 18th green there.
Down five?
Down 5, 10.5, 5.5. So tomorrow, heading in tomorrow, any big things you want to see in singles?
So they have to win 4 matches to win the Ryder Cup. European team does. They have to win 4 of 12 matches. Seems like a big ask.
The U.S. has to. Well, the U.S. has to win 9 matches. I mean, any lineup thoughts or anything you do there based on the way it's because if Europe wins 4,
let's do some math again. All right, let's redo the math situation.
Okay,
Europe has 10.5. They have to get to 14.5, so they have to win 4 matches. But the United States is at 5.5, and all they have to do is get to 14. So
I guess that's right. So they only need to win. Oh wow, this is no. If they win 9 matches, they get the 8.5 is all I need to retain it.
Listen,
8.5 points.
I went to LSU, and some people say we don't do math down there.
I was
in the
a
Bayou,
journalism major at Carolina.
Yeah, I mean I feel like North Carolina is like probably a better academic school.
I took 2 math classes and I didn't do particularly well.
That wasn't like your math there wasn't mathing in my head. So I had to fix all that. So
well, I mean, I think 9 would have got you to 14.5, but of course the US only needs 8.5 points to get the thing done.
They just got to get to 14.
I mean, who do you send out first? Who do you send out last?
Yeah, so I think it's a big question mark what Luke Donald's going to do with his roster. I think you would think, wouldn't it be really smart to send out Viktor Hovland, Rory McIlroy, and Jon Rahm the first 3 matches? But I've kind of gone in a different direction. I think it's really good to send out some veteran guys like a Justin Rose, because you know what the USA has to do? They have to front load the absolute crap out of their lineup. It's going to be Max Homa, it's going to be Scottie Scheffler, it's going to be Justin Thomas, it's going to be Brian Harman. Like those are going to be the first 4 in some particular order is what I'm thinking. So if you can have Justin Rose go up against a Max Homa and steal a point, and then have, Jon Rahm, Rory McIlroy, and Viktor Hovland going up against the guys who haven't played as well this week for the U.S., you got to think they stand a pretty good chance to win those middle matches, which is where I think those guys are going to slot in. So it's definitely a debatable topic. Like, should both teams front load? But I'm kind of in the fact that I think the best players for Europe should be hanging out in the middle, have Hatton, Fitzpatrick, Rose going off the first 3, and then from there have your rookies in the back half of your lineup.
Well, ton to look forward to tomorrow. I mean, it would be a finish for the ages without a doubt if the U.S. can come back and get this done. Just hoping for a little bit of intrigue. That's all. Just something to keep us interested. But we'll be back here tomorrow recapping what could be a wild finish. So tune in back here for day 3, our final day of our Ryder Cup Journal. We appreciate y'all listening. We'll talk to you then.